Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bridging the Gap. Make sure to leave a like on this video down below and subscribe. My name is Alvin. I lean right on most issues, and I'll be representing the Republican side.
My name is Luke. I lean left on most issues, and I'll be representing the Democratic side. Hey guys, in this video, we are going to be doing our presidential election predictions for the 2024 presidential election between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So yeah.
So yeah, this is the presidential map. For those of you who are new to American politics, you need 270 electoral votes to win, which you get by winning American states, and the District of Columbia. And so we fill out the map for the safe states, and those that are almost certain to go for either candidate. And you want to take it away with New Jersey, New York?
Yeah. So we left a few safe states unmarked here just because we think they might be worth mentioning. We're starting with New Jersey and New York here because these are two states that are historically very, very blue. They voted for Biden overwhelmingly in 2020, and they're very Democratic states. But we think they're worth mentioning this time around because Trump, the Republican candidate, has been talking about potentially winning these states, and like how he's going to try to win New York and New Jersey. Yeah, like recently, I think a couple days ago, Trump held a massive rally in South Jersey. Yeah, I mean, he says he's going to win these states, but like I think realistically, probably not. Um, that like, yeah, I mean, do you have any thoughts on this, Alvin? Like, I
Yeah,
think they're just overwhelmingly blue.
there was this one poll that showed Trump like actually within 10, especially with the third party candidates, which I find kind of interesting. But this is so far out with a lot of undecided voters. New York also has a lot of polling for some reason. Um, the thing with these states is I think it is kind of concerning for Biden that he's under 50% in like, New Jersey, New York. But he hasn't been doing so hot in general. However, I just think the Dem voters in New Jersey, New York are eventually going to come home to Biden, and so I think it's for
Yeah,
now
yeah,
at least.
definitely.
Just yeah,
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Like, I mean, we'll obviously we'll reevaluate as things get closer in case this turns into a landslide. But chances are New Jersey and New York are really not going red. Okay. Next, I mean, let's just look at other solid blue states. Colorado, I think, comes to mind. Do you want to talk about that?
yeah. As I've been saying for quite a while now on this channel, even though we're finally back from summer break, Colorado has been a state that's been going very much to the left. Some people theorize that just, California voters leaving there, Dem California voters, or, just Colorado's just been moving very far left. The suburbs, especially, have been shifting very much Democrat. Um, and I guess there's some recent polls that show Trump he's like technically in the fight, but I think it's another thing where he's just so far behind and the shifts are just so against him. I think this is solid D.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Biden's definitely winning that by double digits. Okay, next, let's do Alaska here. So now this Alaska is a state, a very interesting state. It's a very independent state. In 2022, it voted for a Democrat for the House of Representatives. It voted for a moderate Republican for its Senator Lisa Murkowski. But yeah, and this state is a state that was very borderline on in 2020, as in um, Trump won it by 10, like exactly. And 10 is our line for between a solid state and a likely state, a 10-point win. So Trump had this at exactly at 10, and it's a left trending state, especially with Anchorage trending to the left. Um, but I do think in this electoral climate where Trump is performing better and better and Biden's becoming more and more unpopular, I definitely think this state is going to potentially move a couple points backwards now. Maybe expect an 11 to 12 point Trump win instead of it moving into likely like our previous predictions. Yeah, I think Alaska this time around is probably moving back into the solidly Republican category here.
Yeah, I think something you'll notice throughout this video, without spending too much time on safe states, is that there's been a general shift to the right for Trump since our previous prediction.
Yes, yes,
So
for
yeah, there
sure.
we go. I guess we'll go into maybe Iowa,
Yep.
Ohio. These states, they were traditionally competitive in the 2000s. You might remember if you're an old member of our audience that Obama won them. However, nowadays, Trump, with his appeal to white working class voters, has been steering. These are kind of like the opposites of Colorado. They've been going straight to the right. You think we can mark both these as safe?
Ohio, I would say might be in a different bucket because there's going to be it's not, I think Dems have completely abandoned Iowa at this point, but I do not think I think there's definitely going to be Dem money going into Ohio because of the Senate race there. So I think there's going to be some effort by the Biden campaign. I think yeah, this state
Is that
was what?
enough?
Is that enough to keep it in the sub like
Yeah, I
sub
mean,
10
Trump
sub
did
double
win it
digits
by
there?
by 8 in
He won it by
2020.
8, yes. Yeah, I'm actually not too sure. I mean, yeah, I think just like for the sake of it, like yeah, things seem to definitely be trending in Trump's direction nowadays. I think yeah, Ohio on the presidential, yeah, it could be double digits. Yeah, we'll put it there. We'll place it
Yeah.
there for now.
Let's
Um,
let's just quickly clean up the rest of the Dem, likely slash safe states. We can truly get in the competitive ones. Maybe
are
Virginia
yes,
here.
yeah, definitely for sure. Virginia, I Virginia and New Mexico, I think are both about like this near the same level here. They're both
Yeah.
states Biden won by about 12 in 12 points in 2020. Um, yeah, and Virginia in particular has been trending left. It kind of slowed down in 2021, kind of restarted in 2023 with the state legislative races. Uh, so yeah, it's complicated. I do think yeah, with the electoral climate, I could see these shifting, especially I mean New Mexico with all the Hispanic voters and that group kind of moving toward Trump ever so slightly. I definitely can see them turning a lighter shade of blue, but yeah, Biden's still favored in those two states.
Yeah, I do think it's bad for Biden if he has to put money in these states, though, because if he doesn't put any resources to defend these, it's not looking good for him. Um, yeah, maybe New Hampshire, Maine can also be taken care of here.
Yeah, I think New Hampshire is also New Hampshire is interesting because their polling has been pretty good for Biden, if I recall correctly. I haven't looked at New Hampshire
Yeah,
polls like
so
too
decent.
recently, but yeah, like he's been getting like as opposed to other swing states, he's been getting great polling there. Haley performed phenomenally against Trump in that state. Like she performed pretty well. Like she didn't win it, but she took a significant chunk of the vote away from Trump in New Hampshire. So I think New Hampshire in particular is still in the likely column for Biden, while other swing states are moving to the right. Um, and another state, speaking of like New England states, we could probably also put Maine in that bucket too. It's a state that voted +9 for Biden, and yeah, I just it's gonna stay in about the same column. I think Maine and New Hampshire are both likely. But Maine's second congressional district you can give to Trump. That's going to be at least a
Yeah,
likely
that's
margin. Maybe
yeah.
even solid, actually. Yeah, like put that in
Yeah,
solid. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I don't think that much analysis needs to go here, except you do need to note that a lot of those New Hampshire Haley voters were Democrats, so that
Yes, you're right. That is
uh
a good point.
that is a good point I need to make there. All right. Um, we can continue on maybe to Texas and Florida.
Yes. We'll do Florida.
Or should we do Nebraska second? Hmm.
Oh, I mean, yeah, where should we, yeah, actually, let's just get Nebraska second over with. Um, yeah, this is a blue trending district. Biden won it
Yeah,
by 7 in 2020. Um, I mean, yeah, there's not a lot of polling data
there's one
for
or
this district.
something
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
one poll by an it's like an internal for an independent candidate who's running for Senate. Um, yeah, I believe by like it's a blue, as I said before, it's a blue trending district. Like I don't believe Biden will lose this. It might get a lighter shade of blue based on how things are going, but yeah, I think probably about I'd put it in the lean column. lean Dem.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think I need more evidence to suggest that this is getting any closer to the lead for Trump. But
Yeah.
this one point, this electoral district is actually very important in the future, though it's only one electoral vote.
Yeah, you're right.
Uh,
That's a good point because if Biden is to, I believe if Biden sweeps the Rust Belt plus his one district, he'd win. Like
yeah,
if he, yeah, if he holds that blue wall together, like he could completely get obliterated in the Sun Belt and still win by like one electoral vote or something with that one.
yeah.
It's important. Yeah,
But if he loses Nebraska second, then
that yeah, that
then
falls apart.
Trump probably wins the House, which is a whole different thing. Another thing is, he could always get a unfaithful voter in the election,
Unfaithful
but
elector. Yeah,
that
that's
would
always a
be
risk.
very crazy.
That would probably spark a constitutional crisis, but that's gonna it's a different episode. That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
Texas and Florida.
yeah, let's just do.
I'm actually
Yeah, you
you
want
want
to
to do
do Florida? I
Florida?
think Florida first because Florida's probably to the right of Texas. We start there. So yeah, Florida. I mean, Florida. I think Trump won it by around 3 in 2020. It's been a right trending state. We saw Republicans completely smash there in 2022. Just generally not been many bright spots for Democrats. So yeah, yeah, I can see Trump winning by I still don't see it getting to double digits for Trump, as red as it's getting, but I do see him getting like a pretty big win here, between like 5 and 10 points. I think it's a likely state. Like, do you concur with that?
Yeah, I think, if I was a member of the Florida Democratic Party, I would actually be in tears because of how fast my party's collapsed in this state.
I
But
mean, there's
yeah.
there's some bright spot. I mean, they won the Jacksonville mayorship, so there's that. And they got like abortion on the ballot, so like in Florida. So
Yeah.
there's some bright spot. Like maybe they could salvage some stuff. But yeah, it's not looking good for Biden. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
Texas,
let's go over to Texas, which I actually think this is a good debate. Like if Texas or Florida is going to be more to the right. Um, I mean, I think these states are actually pretty close in my opinion. I know Texas has been moving to the left. Um, I don't know. It's all gonna matter as we say every single time based on the Hispanic vote here, just because there's so many Hispanics that live in this state. I don't know. I think issues that Biden is worse on might come into play more here, like immigration.
you're right. That's
So
true.
that could definitely impact him, especially, down here, which is a big reason why he's doing worse in the Sun Belt.
Yeah,
But there
I
have
sorry.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I happen to believe that Texas is going to be to the left of Florida. Like I'm pretty confident Texas is going to be to the left of Florida. Like I think with Florida moving right and Texas as a whole generally moving left, I think it'll still end up to the left of Florida in this election. But yeah, like I can see I mean yeah, I don't Biden, I think Biden might do about as good as he did in 2020, which is still losing the state like by about like 6 points, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I think before we might have placed this in the lean column. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
I
we
think yeah,
did. We did.
yeah, we did beforehand. Yeah, I think it's starting to move back in Trump's direction. With that, I think it goes back into the likely column about how he did. Like I expect him to perform how he did in like 2020.
Yeah, I think the national environment sort of counteracts the shifts in the 4 years since 2020. Although I would not be surprised if Trump only won this by 3 or 4 points.
Yeah, it's still possible. I mean, those swings in the suburbs of like Houston and Dallas like are moving toward Dems, but yeah, it's looking harder to win the state in this climate.
Yeah, let's go to
Minnesota next.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you did. Do you want to talk about the primaries in Minnesota?
Oh yeah, yeah. We can, yeah.
Democratic
Yeah, just pull them
primaries.
both up. So yeah, Minnesota's a state Biden won by 7. Uh, but yeah, like it's in an interesting it's in an interesting state right now. Like uh the polls show it really close here, but Biden's slightly favored. And yeah, some things to note here, like the uncommitted vote. If you go to back to the Dem primary real quick, like so this is the Democratic primary we have on the screen here. Biden lost a substantial portion of the vote to the uncommitted section, and so this is a lot of voters like protesting his handling of the situation in the Middle East between Gaza and Israel. Um, and that whole war and protesting is handling the war. There's a significant group protesting Biden here, and these are Dem voters. So there's a significant risk that these voters might not turn out for Biden. And with the uncommitted vote so high in the state, I mean that's like especially in the Minneapolis area, that's not a good that's not a good sign for Biden there. Alternatively, you could argue for Trump, I believe, in the state. He also lost like decent portions of the vote to Haley. If you can somehow get to the Republican primary here. Uh,
Uh,
mm,
I don't
go
know.
go to
Wait,
state
maybe if I
results in
just,
yeah,
yeah,
Minnesota, yeah.
there we go, there we go.
Yeah, like in the Minneapolis area, he also lost like in the suburbs, he lost a substantial portion of the vote to Haley. Yeah, I could see problems for Biden in the state. I'm not convinced he'd lose it. This is a state Clinton one too, and Dems have like this is the longest held Dem state in presidential politics. So it's definitely Biden's definitely still favored there. I'd put it lean blue. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, maybe important to note that Dean Phillips is from Minnesota, so so Biden 70% maybe is a
Oh, you're right.
little um deflated. However, yeah, I still think Biden's winning this. I don't really see Trump getting there this cycle for sure. I think it's another lean though.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
could
he's
see.
getting seven. It could be 7, 6, 7, but yeah, the environment's kind of getting worse for Biden as the clock is
Yep,
ticking.
that's true. Where to next? Any preferences?
North Carolina, probably. I
Hmm.
think I think to keep this as competitive as possible, if any state is going to go one way or the other, I think we could probably say it's North Carolina.
Yeah, actually, I think we should run through the Sun Belt next and end with the Rust
Yeah, I
Belt.
agree.
Because yeah, I think that's where a lot of
Yeah.
the shifting is going on here. So yeah, North Carolina, I mean, it's been pretty consistently Republican, like in a state of being lean Republican. Uh, there's lots of trends in different directions, like in the Research Triangle and around the cities, like Charlotte and Asheville. Like they're moving to the left, but in a lot of the rural areas are like careening and like going to the right. So, you know, uh, yeah, like it's kind of I would say it's a pretty stagnant state in terms of like where it's been politically. I think it'll end up about in the same place, maybe a couple points to the right of where it was in 2020. But yeah, I think it's leaning red right now. Like yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think likely is definitely possible, but I just don't, I'm not convinced.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't
there's
happen
also a
too
governor's
often.
race there too, so that I don't know if that shakes things up a little, because
Yeah,
yeah,
I want to say because like yeah, I feel like there's not a lot of races where Republicans get likely statewide in North Carolina, and like the headline races in North Carolina, I feel like it's always kind of in that like lean category. It's always pretty close.
agreed.
So yeah, Georgia next. So okay, Georgia, interesting state. Biden like barely won it in 2020. I think it was the closest state. He won by I believe I'm not actually sure. It's like
It's like
0.2, I
point
think.
two, yeah, point two or something like that. It was very close.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
state that's
checking it
been
right now.
trending to the left, especially
Yeah,
with the
point two.
yeah, driven by those Atlanta suburbs. It's been shooting to the left. But I mean, there's a lot of dislike for Biden in this state. I've seen
Oh
like
yeah,
his approval polls in this state are among the worst of the swing states. And then obviously you could just look at the polling and say like, oh, this does not look good for the Democrats here. Um, yeah, so I think I'm not sure. Nah, I think part of it's because rural voters are still like still firmly in Trump's favor and are even like moving toward him. And also, I would mention that polls have been suggesting that voters of color, particularly black men, have been slightly moving in Trump's direction too. So if those trends happen in like inner cities like Atlanta, that could serve to offset trends in the suburbs that are moving left and allow Trump to win the state. And yeah, I think that's kind of where how it's looking right now. I would even say Georgia's probably in the lean R category right now.
Yeah, where do
What
we
do you
put
think?
it in January? We put it as tilt R. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think the polls have definitely gotten worse for Biden in the
yeah,
state. There's been a lot of big pollsters, like for example, New York Times, that are putting Trump up like 9, and that's a lot. I don't think it's gonna be that big of a like that polarized in Georgia. I don't think he's gonna win by that much. But I agree with the lean R. I think you said it basically all, but I will say I'll also add that. Um, Georgia voters for Biden are just so unenthusiastic, right? They're basically like forced to go. Um, I think most of Biden's voters don't want to vote for him. They're just voting for him because they think he's better than Trump. But there are a
yeah.
lot of voters in Georgia that are very enthusiastic about voting for Trump, and you know, it's all
I
about turning your voters out.
I
So.
genuinely think that goes for like anywhere. Like people aren't enthusiastic. Like I feel like Democrats aren't enthusiastic about Biden. They're enthusiastic about, combating Trump. I think that's what drives the average Democrat. Like we need to take down Trump.
That's what that is
Yeah,
part of
yeah.
it. But what I'm trying
That's
to
true.
say is, especially in Georgia, because there's so many of these, a lot of African Americans, right? Like you said, like black men are shifting to the right, and a lot of these people in Atlanta, for example, and these, cities in Georgia, especially black voters, just are so tired of Biden, and they don't have that enthusiasm they used to back him with in 2020.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Arizona.
Okay. Arizona is in an interesting position. This is another one of those states that's been moving to the left. Overall, Biden barely won it. I think, yeah, it's similar to Georgia in that he won like very barely, like 0.2, 0.3. Um, yeah, this state's also moving to the left. The polls, I will note, are closer than they are in Georgia.
Yeah.
uh that like Biden's I mean Trump's only up like I think the 538 average had him up only like two or three um in Arizona. You could yeah, fact check me real quick. Okay, so
Yeah.
like 3 points. I happen to think Arizona is I personally believe that Arizona is going to be closer than we have Georgia here. I actually I would argue that Biden might even be favored. Why? I would say trends in the state. There's an abortion referendum in the state. Like I mean, just recently, like I think Republicans in the state, the Republican like Supreme Court of the state like instituted like a full abortion ban. So like I feel like there was a lot of headwinds. There's a lot of headwinds to Republicans here. And it's on top of that, it's trending left. It's closer than the other states. I could still see this going blue. I think almost every poll had Carrie Lake up in 2022. She still ended up losing. I'm inclined to still say this tilts in Biden's favor. I don't know. Like, I mean, you might have a different opinion than me, but I think Arizona's probably the bluest swing state, in my opinion. In my opinion.
I don't know
What do you
about
reckon?
this one because yes, Bulls had Carrie Lake up, but they did not have her up by 9 points. They did not have her up by 6 points in these polls, right? I don't know if I can see Biden still taking Arizona, but I will also say that, those polls, they have Gallagher up on Lake in the Senate race that's happening at the exact same time. And I'm sure if you surveyed those exact same voters, they would definitely have the abortion referendum winning. But if we look at the Trump race, we go back to the
Yeah, yeah.
presidency. It is very rough. Like these exact polls are, Trump +9 when they're on the just the other race they had Gallagher up 3. So I think these voters I don't know. I think it's just so much for Biden to overcome right now because of the amount of ticket splitting in these polls show that it is Biden that is doing a lot worse than, say Ruben Gallego in the Senate race or any other local races. I think there's going to be quite a bit of ticket splitting here, which Arizona has shown they will do.
Yeah,
We'll
I
say
mean,
that.
I believe it. Yeah, like there could be t ticket splitting, absolutely, but I still believe that Arizona, it's especially like it has more moderate voters, especially like compared to Georgia, where there's a lot more polarization. I think in the end, we're still like I still think by election day, Biden's favored in Arizona. I mean, I'm not like the data right now doesn't convince me that Trump will flip the state. It's gonna be close, but I still think it's going to be pretty borderline. I think Biden's ever so slightly favored. I don't know. We can put this like I mean, it's tilt one way or the other. I mean, it's up to you really. Like, what do you want to do here?
I don't really mind. Maybe we'll just leave it for then and see if it's significant.
Actually, okay. Um, Nevada, on the other hand, we can move to Nevada. Um,
We can move to Nevada. This one's a different story. Yeah, Nevada is interesting for a different reason than Arizona. It's obviously, in the same geographic area, but it's trending the opposite direction. Nevada, for a good amount of time, has now been trending to the right.
mhm,
Republicans did take the governorship here in the midterms, and a lot of people just talk about Clark County when they're analyzing the state, and they see the shifts. If I go to the shifts, there's slight, ever so slight shifts to the right.
mhm.
For example, 1.4 points here from 2016, and I think it does not take that much of a shift in Nevada for Trump to win the state of Nevada, right? Because he only lost it by a few points and he could definitely turn around. If we start looking at the polling, you know, it's pretty bad for Joe Biden. We had this that of course he had the New York Times poll that maybe infamously put Trump up by 12 in the state, sending pollsters and
Okay.
analysts all over the internet going crazy. So I don't know. I think this is probably just lean Republican right now.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't go too crazy with the margins because they always get closer. But a lot of these polls recently actually do have Trump at 50%, which is kind of alarming for the Biden campaign here. And the Hispanic shifts probably also help Trump. So
Yeah, yeah, I definitely
yeah.
concur with the Nevada rating here. I don't believe it's going, plus 12 like the New York Times poll suggests, but yeah, I think Trump's definitely favored to flip the state. Okay, so should we just go where should we start here? Maybe Wisconsin?
Sure. If you want to go to Wisconsin, we go to Wisconsin.
Okay, yeah, Wisconsin. This was I believe Biden's tipping point state in 2020. Like so this was like the state that handed him the election. He won
Yeah,
it by point 0.6. So it's a very close state. Now I'm gonna just say for the Rust Belt region, I feel like contrary to the Sun Belt, there's a lot more white suburban voters in these states, and I
true.
do think these states and like those voters are trending left. I think we see that in the breakage of in the Republican primary with a lot of these voters, even with Haley out of the primary, still voting for Nikki Haley in these suburban areas. So I think Biden does have that going for him. Um, in these states. But despite this, the polls are still not like that great for him. I mean, we see so like kind of back and forth in a lot of these polls here. This is Wisconsin, right? Like yeah, like
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
the polling averages in this state are probably like in this particular state are the probably the best for Biden. But again, I'm not sure how much trust we can put into Wisconsin
The
polls.
polls in Wisconsin have historically been terrible, especially when Donald Trump has been on the ballot. So,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
They were
Ah,
great in 2022. I'm not going to lie. They were pretty good in
They're
2018.
pretty good. They're pretty good.
But when Trump was on
But
the
when
ballot,
Trump's on the
they were
ballot,
good. So I don't know.
it's
I'm not sure. Of the big three in the Rust Belt area, Wisconsin has always been the closest. And Biden definitely has like that Madison area, definitely the Milwaukee suburbs and the Wild counties that surround Milwaukee. Those are trending left. He has that going for him. I think ultimately though, the trends still favor like just the way the election's going. Trump, I would give him the slight edge in Wisconsin overall. I would actually tilt this to the right, I think. I think
yeah, I think I'm doing that too. I
the
think I'm
other states are gonna
tilting.
be. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm tilting this to the right too. The other two we'll talk about in a bit, but yeah, I
Okay.
agree. I
Uh
think Michigan's probably the most Democrat of the three in the Rust Belt, though, traditionally.
okay. So
Um,
we want to do Michigan next?
over
You could talk about Michigan if you like.
Yeah, okay, so Michigan is a state where Democrats have a actually really good ground game, which is really good for them in Michigan. They're usually pretty good at mobilizing voters here. And the polls are weird because they show Michigan to the right of Wisconsin. I think there was this point in time when CNN had, like, they were projecting that Trump would win Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not convinced about that though.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
just I don't think Trump's gonna get it done. I think that Biden is gonna definitely do the best in Michigan out of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And then this sort of just follows up from 2020 when Michigan was actually a pretty good state for Biden. And in 2016, Trump basically barely won Michigan anyway. So I think Biden's gonna win it. I don't know if it's over a point or not. With how this election's going, it seems kind of bad for Biden. So maybe we tilt it to the left, but I think Democrats are gonna definitely get it done here. Just
Yeah, I
barely
think
done.
yeah, at the end of the day, I think Michigan is gonna go to Biden. Not sure by how much though. I would yeah, I think we could tilt this to the left here. Um, yeah, he might win it by like one, he maybe even two. But yeah, I think Biden's favored. Like, I mean, again, like Dems, if there was a red wave in places like Florida and New York in 2022, there was a blue wave in Michigan in 2022. Like Dems did flawlessly here. We had Democrats winning the governorship by over 10, winning back like the state legislator. So, I mean, they've been doing great here recently. So it's kind
Yeah.
of hard for me to see Biden losing the state, but it's going to be a close state. It's definitely possible Trump just comes out and wins it. We'll see. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
let's
so I
go.
guess looking at the
Sorry.
last two states, you'll see here that Trump just needs to win either of Arizona and or Pennsylvania here to win the presidency, and Biden would have to pick up both. So let's go ahead and look at Pennsylvania.
Now, PA, okay, PA's a state Biden won by 1.2 in 2020. And
Scranton
again,
Joe, Scranton Joe.
yeah, he was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He has deep roots in the state. Um, yeah, again, okay, the polls, Trump is favored in more of them here. Something I do want to point out is a lot of the statewide pollsters, like so not national level pollsters, but statewide pollsters like Susquehanna, Franklin and Marshall College do have Biden up. Um, so that's like, I mean, those polls specialize in the state. So I mean, that's a decent side for him. But again, more generally, like you want to go by the polling average, and Biden is down in that polling average. But yeah, counterpoints be like I don't know, like looking at Biden in the state, like Biden and Trump's performance in the state, the suburbs are generally trending to the left, like as in these other sort of states, and Trump did very poorly in the in the suburbs in the Republican primary. I think in some suburban counties in the Philly collar area, Trump was losing like 30% of the vote, 20 to 30% of the vote to Nikki Haley voters, who chances there's there's a very decent chance those voters might end up voting for Biden. I don't know. We're gonna have to I think Biden might still be favored here at the end of the day, ever so slightly. Do you have any opinion?
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I do think that he's gonna be very so slightly ahead in Pennsylvania. It's just the fact that I don't know. I don't really believe the polls. They've been flip-flopping all around, throughout the midterms and the generals, and I think Biden's actually kind of underrated in some of these. He is doing horribly in terms of like how we feel as a country, especially on his job approval and how he's doing as president.
The
But
most disapproved of president. Yeah.
including Trump, which is actually unbelievable. I didn't think he could do it, but
He managed
Joe
to.
Biden, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I do think he actually does have a above a 50% chance to win it though, as of right now. I think his chances could definitely deteriorate in Michigan and Pennsylvania um by the time June rolls around though. So watch out for that.
Okay, what are we gonna do
Um
about Arizona here? Because you seem to be tilting to the right. I'm tilted to the left here. So this is like like I don't know. How do we want to break this tie here? Do it.
I don't know. I really think it's gonna go to the right. I just think I don't know because man,
Well, okay. Well, we'll go. Okay,
yeah,
so, since we're so split here, we'll go based on the polls. The polls are seeming to indicate it's going to the right here. We'll tilt to the right here. So this, like, but we're split here. We'll split here. We'll acknowledge that.
we did acknowledge that, but we also tilted Pennsylvania to the left when it was sort of like basically a toss up. So I think this is fair.
Okay, but yeah, this is our map right now. And as you can see, Trump is at 278 electoral votes. That would make Trump the next president of the United States as our prediction stands. Uh
Yeah. It's gonna pull Groover Cleveland. Reflecting how close,
Yikes.
how on an edge we are. The betting odds have now even to $50, 50 cents, sorry, for each major candidate, which is actually
Yeah.
bonkers. So it's basically coin flip, but just like we had a coin flip in Arizona. But yeah,
Yeah.
let us know down below in the comments what you would change about our projections. We valued everyone's feedback. Remember, leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends. Thanks
Yeah.
for watching.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. See ya.